Men, let us talk about the quiet threat in many long-term marriages: the denial of intimacy. Maybe you have sensed it. The conversations about sex have faded away. The bed feels empty, and the distance between you and your wife feels like a vast divide. I am Dr. Ada James, a urologist with over 5 years of experience on men's sexual health and wellness. And today, I'm here to tell you this. You are a good man. You provide, you stay faithful, you try to be supportive. And still, the one thing you need most to feel respected and connected has disappeared. Then comes the shock, the thing that simply does not make sense in a good man's mind. You hear stories, or maybe even live through it yourself, where intimacy is withdrawn only for a partner to look for connection elsewhere. Sometimes with a man who offers none of the commitment or respect you give. Your honest question is this: if sex for a woman is meant to be about trust, connection, and respect, how can that trust and connection be so suddenly taken from the man she vowed to love, only to be given freely to someone with no history or commitment? It is a painful, confusing contradiction that can break a man's dignity. But I want you to know your confusion makes sense, and the story you are often told about why this happens is usually incomplete and misleading. I have spent the last 5 years watching good men struggle with this exact situation. We are going to go deep into the real reasons this dynamic shows up and, more importantly, how you reclaim your power and self-respect. Not by changing her, but by fiercely focusing on your own health and dignity. This is a hard topic, so if you are ready to face this truth and find a way forward, hit that like button now. Let me know in the comments what respect means to you in your marriage. And please subscribe and ring the bell to support men's emotional and physical health on this platform. The belief many men are given, and the story many wives repeat to themselves, is that intimacy disappears only because the man failed to offer emotional closeness, respect, or trust. While those things always matter, the deeper and more uncomfortable reality is that for some women, sex ends because it becomes a weapon of control, a method of punishment, or a signal of unresolved personal struggles that have nothing to do with the husband. This is the truth many good men find hard to accept. The male mindset. A good man makes a promise, a lifelong commitment, and he means it. To him, using sex as punishment feels almost unimaginable. It feels harsh and directly violates the bond he pledged to protect. The female response in this situation. When a partner feels unhappy for internal reasons, often tied to her own decisions, unmet expectations, or lack of personal fulfillment, it becomes easier to push that pain outward. The closest target is usually the husband. On a biological level, when a woman feels entitled, deeply dissatisfied, or unfulfilled, stress hormones like cortisol remain high. Her nervous system stays in survival mode, making the oxytocin-based bond of intimacy nearly unreachable. She may feel deeply unhappy, and in that emotional distortion, she cuts off the very source of comfort, her husband, as a way to punish the person she believes caused her pain. Emotionally, this often grows from a self-focused belief where the marriage was entered with the assumption that the husband would be responsible for her happiness. When he inevitably fails to meet that constantly shifting standard, intimacy is withdrawn not because she lacks respect for him, but as an expression of her own inner pain and sense of victimhood. It is deeply selfish, but it happens. In real terms, sex stops being an expression of love and turns into a form of leverage. It becomes a tool used to control the emotional tone of the marriage, a silent way to express dissatisfaction without taking responsibility for her own emotional state. Trust, connection, and respect break down, not because the husband lacks value, but because the partner cannot fully own her feelings or decisions. A good man needs to understand this clearly. The loss of intimacy is often not a judgment of your worth. It reflects your partner's inner chaos and her refusal to take responsibility for herself. In my 5 years working closely with men's health, I have seen how destructive this pattern can be. The man is left feeling stripped of his masculinity, confused, and deeply disrespected. At the heart of this issue is the slow destruction of a man's dignity. When you are treated harshly, when intimacy is used as a weapon, when your partner ignores how her choices affect the family, your confidence, your strength, and even your physical health begin to decline. I am telling you that you do not have to remain trapped in confusion or self-blame. The answer is not trying harder to fix her. The answer is reclaiming your power, your self-respect, and your vitality by turning your focus back to the man you see in the mirror. This is not about rescuing the marriage right now. This is about rescuing you. Now, let us clearly point out the self-defeating errors good men make when trying to survive this kind of cold behavior. When a good man faces this level of perceived cruelty and selfishness, his reactions are understandable, but they often cost him even more power. These are the top 5 dignity-draining mistakes I see repeatedly. Number 5. Believing that this is all your fault, gaslight. The mistake. You absorb the blame. You accept her version of events, that your poor communication, your failure to satisfy her, or your emotional limits are the only reasons intimacy disappeared. On a biological level, taking on this blame floods your body with cortisol. That constant stress hormone lowers testosterone, weakens immunity, and fuels anxiety and weight gain. Your body starts reflecting your emotional collapse. Emotionally, this destroys self-trust. You spiral into insecurity, constantly reshaping yourself to meet standards that keep shifting, slowly shrinking into someone unrecognizable from the man she chose to marry. Practically, once you accept total blame, you surrender all leverage. You place yourself beneath her, endlessly seeking approval that never arrives because the real issue was never truly you. The next mistake quietly damages how your children and friends see you. It begins with how you look for comfort. Fourth, drifting through the marriage without a personal operating system. The mistake is continuing to show up as the overly nice husband, believing that if you stay kind, generous, and helpful long enough, intimacy will magically return. There are no clear boundaries, no structure, and no strength. Biologically, living without boundaries is draining. You stay on constant alert, anticipating her moods and needs, which keeps your nervous system overstimulated and robs you of the deep rest required for real physical and mental recovery. Emotionally, non-stop niceness without self-respect turns into quiet martyrdom. Resentment builds toward her, and more importantly, toward yourself for tolerating the treatment. What remains is not love, but duty and helplessness. Practically, your kindness is read as weakness, a silent transaction meant to earn sex. It does not create respect. And without respect, attraction cannot survive. This mistake is the ultimate form of self-deception that keeps you stuck in fantasy. Third, believing the myth of the other man. The mistake is accepting the idea that if she cheats, the other man must be superior, more exciting, more attentive, or more fulfilling. You convince yourself the grass is greener. Biologically, your nervous system is wired to compare status, and this belief triggers feelings of inferiority that further disrupt your hormonal balance. Emotionally, this fantasy gives her cover to justify cruelty through the belief that she deserves happiness. What gets ignored is the reality that affairs are often two wounded people bonding over unresolved pain. Practically, you waste energy competing with an illusion instead of investing in your own high-character, commitment-based identity. These fantasy connections are fragile and unstable, built on nothing solid. The second mistake is hard to break because it is fueled by hope. 2. Abandoning the promises you owe yourself. The mistake is that you made vows to her, but never made vows to yourself. Promises like protecting your emotional health, refusing disrespect, and preserving your physical strength. Because all your energy goes into saving the marriage, your own well-being becomes the casualty. Biologically, the gym disappears, your diet slips, and alcohol or comfort food becomes a coping tool. That neglect speeds aging, fuels inflammation, and locks you into low energy and low mood. Emotionally, ignoring your own care sends a message that your body and needs do not matter. That self-betrayal erodes your sense of worth and makes you easier to manipulate. Practically, you lose the one area fully under your control, your physical and mental edge. You cannot lead your life or family from a place of burnout. The number one mistake is what I call the complete surrender of a good man's power. 1. The final surrender, choosing silence and retreat. The mistake is stopping initiation, not only sexually, but in honest, firm conversations about where the marriage stands. You accept silence as normal and withdraw into work, hobbies, or isolation. Biologically, your body adapts to the absence of intimacy. Desire fades from neglect, and the mind, seeking safety, stops reaching for connection. The result is deep loneliness, which is biologically harmful and linked to heart disease and cognitive decline. Emotionally, this is the quiet killing of hope. You step out of your role as an active partner and settle into being a passive roommate. You trade dignity for temporary peace. Practically, surrendering your voice allows the dysfunction to solidify. You teach your partner that harmful behavior carries no consequence, strengthening her control and reinforcing the fear that you are disposable. A man with integrity must speak truth, even when it is uncomfortable. The way forward is not about winning arguments. It is about restoring self-respect. Here are 3 focused steps to help you regain your footing and return to the grounded, confident man you know you are. 1. The dignity check. Redefine your boundaries. The plan is simple, but serious. Decide for yourself what behavior you will accept and what you will not tolerate in your marriage, no matter how things turn out. Sit with yourself and write down clear, non-negotiable standards of self-respect. Statements like, I will not accept manipulation. I will not tolerate cruel language. I will speak my truth with integrity. These boundaries are not about controlling her behavior. They are about controlling your response. This creates a firm, unshakable core of self-worth that no outside force can move. That inner stability is one of the strongest and most respectable traits a man can develop. 2. The testosterone reset. Health is leverage. The plan is to aggressively prioritize your physical health, not to win her back, but to reclaim yourself. Start by getting your testosterone and basic metabolic levels tested. Commit to serious resistance training, lifting heavy weights at least 4 times a week. Center your diet around lean protein and remove processed sugars. Biologically, this directly improves mood, energy, muscle strength, and mental sharpness. High vitality feeds confidence at a deep level. As your health returns, you become far less vulnerable, both mentally and physically, to emotional pressure and manipulation. 3. Communication rooted in strength. Speak with clarity. The plan is to state your reality to your partner, not to vent or accuse, but to clearly define where the relationship stands. Speak calmly and directly. Say something like, I am no longer okay with the emotional distance and lack of intimacy between us. I feel disconnected, and I believe we either need a clear path toward health or an honest look at what comes next. I am committed to being a healthy man, and I need a marriage that supports that. The goal is simple. You are expressing your truth without attacking her. You are pulling the relationship out of silent decay and toward clear resolution. That is leadership. Men, your value is not measured by your wife's desire or her ability to recognize you. Your dignity comes from your character, your commitments, and your self-respect. Right now, the most important relationship in your life is the one you have with yourself. Focus on becoming a man who earns respect, expects respect, and lives by it. In doing so, you create a sense of calm, freedom, and quiet confidence that shifts the energy around you. Do not allow unmet expectations to shape your future. Good men hold society together, and you deserve a life filled with strength and genuine connection. This stage of life is not about giving up, but about reclaiming the strongest version of yourself. Real power never comes from controlling others. It comes from mastering yourself and how you respond. I want to see your commitment. In the comments, share one action you will take this week to invest in your physical health or emotional dignity. If this message gave you clarity or strength, like the video, share it with another man who needs it, and subscribe to the channel. I am Dr. Ada James, and I look forward to supporting your journey toward unshakable health and dignity.